Hey, APUSH people. So,
we have been interviewing teachers on what the Gilded Age is, and this is their answers. What is the Gilded Age?
Didn't listen. Okay. That's a great question. Maybe the Gilded Age is where things were made of gold.
Like, what's the Gilded Age? Solomon!
what's the Gilded Age?
The years. I may be around Victorian here, I have no idea.
Okay. What's the Gilded Age?
I remember that word from my own APUSH class, but that's about it.
Okay.
What's the Gilded Age?
What's the what?
What's the Gilded Age?
Gilded Age.
In history.
The Gilded Age?
Yeah.
Poor and extreme wealth.
It's what?
Extreme poor and extreme wealth. Just say that, you're fine.
Are y'all trying to figure out if teachers are dumb and whatnot, don't know what they're talking about? Put that on camera.
What?
I don't care who.
Right?
Get ready.
It was between the 1870s to 1900 with rapid economic growth.
Okay. What's the Gilded Age?
I don't know.
She wasn't prepared for that. What's the Gilded Age?
No idea. Ni idea. No tengo idea.
What's the Gilded Age?
No idea.
What's the Gilded Age?
The Gilded Age. The age when people decided that they could build things with metal and blacksmiths.
Okay. What's the Gilded Age?
Isn't that the Victorian age? Is it?
What's the Gilded Age?
The Gilded Age? Oh, like the Golden Age, and it's typically referred to by like people of their younger years, but I think the Gilded Age of America would have been post-World War II.
So, as you can tell, a lot of them have absolutely no idea what they
are talking about, but we're here to tell you. So the term the Gilded Age started by Mark Twain when he wrote a book called The Gilded Age, and that's really when this whole time period began to be called that. And basically the Gilded Age means that things appeared nice on like the outside, but on the inside the economy was corrupt and not good. So the Gilded Age was during period 6, and it was from like the years 1865 to like 1898. So a big part of this time period and the Gilded Age was industrialization and technological advances. And one of the key things that was being industrialized at this time was the railroads and the Transcontinental Railroad that was leading to Western expansion.
I think you're good.
So during this time, Rockefeller and Carnegie were a big part of like life and the economy and the Gilded Age. We were like the owners of like the steel and oil industry, which was like a really big deal. Like
a huge deal. Bigger than the New Deal.
Like a big deal. So there's also a really good like acronym for like during this time and helping remember like what it means. The name of it is bagpipe. B stands for belief. Or the beliefs during this time was like social Darwinism, nativism, and the Jim Crow laws. And the A in bagpipe stands for America, and that includes like the Chinese Exclusion Act, the Alaskan Purchase, and the first modern Olympic Games. And then the G stands for geography, which included the Transcontinental Railroad, mining, the growth of cities, Standard Oil companies, and the New South. And the P in bagpipe stands for politics and power, and that includes like the Battle of Little Bighorn, Plessy versus Ferguson, and Haymarket Affair. And then the I stands for identity, and that includes immigration and monopolies, which were like the big businesses that owned the whole thing. And the other P stands for peopling, and that is like how people were settling in the West and the African American immigration into the U.S. And then E stands for exchange, which was the trust and monopolies and the large-scale production starting to show up in America, and then also Cowtown.
Haymarket Square of 1886, aka the Haymarket Massacre or the Haymarket Riot. Demands for an 8-hour working day in Chicago, demonstrated by a group of anarchists, caused a crowd of 1,500 people. Bomb exploded and police opened fire. Sharecropping was a system used on Southern farmers after the Civil War, in which farmers worked land owned by someone else in return for a small portion of the crops.
Do it, you know.
The Indian Hope was the next part of Period 6. This involved the Dawes Act. This act took place in 1887. It dismantled American Indian tribes, set up individuals as family heads with 160 acres, tried to make rugged individuals out of Indians, attempted to assimilate the Indian population into that of the American. This led to the Ghost Dance movement. This was the last try from the Native Americans. The Native Americans are trying to resist U.S. domination and drive whites from their ancestral lands, come through a religious movement known as the Ghost Dance.
Also, labor unions that were started for the workforce, and one of them was the Knights of Labor, which happened in like the 1880s, and it was a labor organization that included all types of workers and attacked social Darwinism, which was had to do with the wealthy defending their success, which was like survival of the fittest and stuff. This union failed because of the poor organization, and after the Haymarket Affair, the public's opinion changed, and it ended.
The Populists were an agrarian-based political movement aimed at improving conditions for the country's farmers and agrarian workers. The Populist movement was preceded by the Farmers Alliance and the Grange. The People's Party was a political party founded in 1891, led by the leaders of the Populist movement. And this about sums up Period 6.
Okay.
So, thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching.
And peace out. Hey, push people!
Green Arrow, go! What's the Gilded Age?
I don't know. And I don't care.
So.